Defense Department medical services contract is up. They need a company to service, people that are in the military, do checkups on them, et cetera, to do their military services. Their
health services,
medical services, right? So they get 3 bids. Hey, look at that! I was excited. I'm like, it's not a no-bid contract. Wow, you like them. Logistics Health Incorporated bids $790 million. Their 2 competitors bid $80 million less and $100 million less. Secondly, Logistics Health Incorporated has a problem. One of their main subcontractors pulls out right before the contract. So we're not really quite sure if they can really handle this contract. And it turns out they have a third problem. They screwed up a previous contract where they didn't do any of the checkups they were supposed to. So you got 3 big strikes against them. They're $100 million more. All right, let's be fair. To the second guy, $80 million more than the closest competitor.
$750 million.
The contract's worth $750 million, right? And it's a very important contract. It's relating to the health of the troops that we care so much about. We have to support them, right? Guess who got the contract?
Tell me.
Of course, Logistics Health Incorporated. But why? Why did they get it? Well, funny enough, it turns out there's a guy named William Winkenwerder, Jr., and he was the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs until April of this year. And then he resigns. By the way, this contract came up for a bid in October of last year. So this contract comes up for a bid. Winkenwerder is there for many months, 6 months. All of a sudden, he resigns. The next month, he signs on with Logistics Health Incorporated. And look at that. A couple of months later, they wind up landing the $790 million contract, even though their bid was $80 million more than their closest competitor.
That's your tax dollars at work.
But wait, it doesn't just end there. I mean, if it was just an Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs, he was the guy in charge of those contracts. So that's pretty significant. But also, the guy who heads the company is former Secretary of Health and Human Services for the Bush administration, Tommy Thompson. Gee, I wonder why they got the contract. I wonder why.
I wonder.
The thing is, when I was a conservative, I used to yell and scream about how the government was ripping us off. And
little did you realize that all of your fellow conservatives, the guys who make the real money in this country, all make it off the government.
They're the real welfare queens. They are. It's true. First of all, I was right. The government is ripping us off. It's done in an institutional manner. You work for the government.
These people are ripping you off through the government, and they've always been doing it. How about like land leases for mineral rights, gas, oil, coal,
and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, you remember? I mean, there's a million. By the way, you think this is an unusual story? I skip 3 stories like this every single week. Because it happens over and over and over. There was the other health story where they're done with the bill, and then Chuck Grassley comes in at the last second and gives like $11 billion to some contributor unilaterally. Doesn't check with any of even his Republican colleagues in the Senate, let alone the House, let alone the Democrats. Just sticks it in there and goes, enjoy your $11 billion. And they buy these politicians for so cheap, so cheap. They give them little itsy,
like hookers,
campaign contributions and hookers, right? Male or female or whatever they're into. And then when they get out of office, they pay them $1 million or $2 million to be the CEO or the director or whatever it is of their company. And they make $2 billion, or in this case, $790 million. And they have a profit margin that's enormous because they got to bid $100 million more than their closest competitor. And you think it'll stay at $790 million?
And you're also assuming they can even deliver the service.
Yeah, I'm not assuming that because I know the last time we gave them the contract, they didn't deliver the service. So the whole thing is a scam, and the guys who do this scam the best, turns out, and what I didn't know when I was a Republican, are the Republicans. They've mastered this game. They're leeching off the government.